singing gospel tunes, makes a fine cathedral from that hollow room. His eyes on the sparrow, she's singing true. I was working with a group of faculty people at a community college here in Cincinnati, and the content was full voice, how to use your voice in service to your work and your life. And what that looks like is I opened the conversation asking people, what's your story about your voice? And everybody's got one. And off they go, they talk to each other for 6 or 7 minutes. And the stuff that they come back with is about the teacher in 2nd grade who told them they couldn't sing, or that they somehow were traumatized along the way and they can't seem to get what they have to say out. They talk about the sound, the way they sound on voicemail. It's all over the map. It's all over the map. It's a great provocative question. And that is what voice is. It's the literal sound coming out of your mouth, but it's also your story about yourself. It's your culture's story about you. It's your whole history. It's your ancestral story, region where you grew up, your class, education. And all of that is leaking out every time we talk. And we're completely unaware of it. So my work is about becoming more aware of it and more choiceful about using this thing that we use every day to make things happen in the world. Inciting radical aliveness in individuals and groups. And mostly I do that through voice, singing, speaking, sound. Well, it's a reckless word. It's usually inciting riot. So it's really creating aliveness, fire, provoking people in a way that they're not used to. And most settings are pretty dead. And what I like to do is to bring some shock value in a good way. Wake people up out of their complacency and deadness into something else. It's revolutionary to show up alive anywhere. It's shocking. People are uneasy and attracted both. And it also indicates roots. Radical is based in the Latin word for root. So it's really reconnecting us to our intrinsic natures as animals, as communities, as bodies, and our whole selves, not just this thing we haul around on top of our neck. It's almost a spiritual stance.
Right.
And I see it happening in groups when they start in a room and when they leave the room, something is different. Their eyes are full of light, they're frisky and lit up and a little messed up. They're not so collected. It's beautiful. I love it. Yeah, it's just fun to watch people become more human, step back into their humanity and their joy and their song and their voices, and it's just a pleasure. So I love what it does to me. I feel deeply alive. The time just flies. So it's a goody, goody, goody. And the frame, it feels sacred to me. It feels like sacred work. So I feel like I don't, burn anything or anything like that, but I really invoke the sacredness of what we're doing in myself. And I usually do that by singing at the beginning. I do it for me. It's me out of the way. Wish I could break Same loud, same clear, for the whole round world to hear. Sound is a mysterious thing. I mean, it penetrates everything. Everything's full of space, right? And when we're all just vibrating, we are all just vibrating stuff. So when we all vibrate together, it changes the physical world. So it'll soak it up. And I know that rooms that we sing in ongoingly, it feels like there's a resonance that's left behind that we re-enter. And I'm not sure if it's the resonance just with the group itself that they carry that makes that possible, you know, when they all stop at the same time. It's because, I wonder how much of it is because of the room we're in, that we're always in the same room. And it remembers and resonates forever until we come back, and then we build more resonance. So I think spaces have a life, and they are enlivened, their matter is enlivened by sound, just like our bodies are. So I think the people who come in here tomorrow morning, if they're sensitive, they might notice something's different about this place. You know, I was in France a couple of years ago and went to a Pentecost service at a place that had been holding song since 1200. And it was designed for singing. It had a 7-second delay. And there were some men in there singing Gregorian chant. And that space was amazing. The space was so full of resonance, and the stones had been vibrating to the Gregorian chant for 800 years. 800 years of vibrating. And you walked in and you could hear or feel it before the song ever began again. But when the song began, it was like a room full of gas and you lit a match. All that backlog of sound was still there. So I don't think we've even begun to understand the power of sound, of voice in collective and individual healing. I don't think we've begun to understand it. I think it's just the very beginning, and I think it's both very ancient and very new, and I feel like I'm between the very old and what's coming. We're not quite there yet. But I'm out here waving my arms around and trying to bring that forward into that wisdom of sound and us and aliveness back into our culture before we're completely dead. It's all right now. My friend Margie is a yoga teacher, and she said, you know, maybe it would be more interesting or full body if you actually made the Y. And I said, that is very interesting. I didn't have my own voice for a long time. I was one of those seen but not heard children, and my people are singing people. My grandfather was on the radio in Iowa. My mom sang solos at church. My brother had a band, and I could not understand why I was so afraid of singing in public. I sang in choirs, but I would never sing in front of my friends or family, anybody, ever, ever, ever. So that phobia got really stirred up when somebody overheard me singing late at night in a costume shop when I was in college and told another friend that I could sing. He invited me to sing jazz at a local hotel for a summer, and someone in my mouth said yes. Yeah.